Hello and welcome back to Minecraft. This is Carline once again, and as you can see, there's quite a few more deaths added to my total. I've also gotten myself re-geared. I've done quite a lot. You can see the chests around me. And I will go into detail about these chests and about everything that has happened, but, yeah. Actually, I think I'll go into detail about it now. Basically, what happened was I did some, off-camera sort of caving in this exact cave that I'm in right now. It's a pretty big cave. It stretches out that way and along, sort of down that sort of general direction and in that general direction, and it also stretches that direction and back that direction. Yeah, it's a really big cave, and when I was done, I came back here with everything I'd gathered. I put this chest here, and this chest here, sorted out my stuff, and then shortly after I decided to record an episode. And so I set myself up to start recording, and I do the whole recording. I'm not quite sure how long it was, but I did a fair amount of talking and explored the cave a bit more, found this chest, which I'm sure you can guess what that's from, and came back to here with everything that I'd gathered while I was just going through the cave talking, and then I decided that I wanted to watch what I'd recorded because I wanted to make sure I didn't make the same mistake that I made last time where the audio got out of sync of the video. So I started watching what I'd recorded, and at first I heard nothing, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then I started hearing the gamer sounds. I'm like, okay, so the sound is working. And then I realized, hey guys, go away. That was not very nice. And then I realized what the problem was. The problem was that I was not hearing my voice. I had no voice, despite me actually talking the entire time. And I'm like, why am I not hearing my voice? Did something happen? Did something change? Did I do something wrong? Really worried that I've broken something, done something, changed something. So I spend a bit of time going around trying to figure it out, and then I'm like, it must be something to do with my microphone, because my microphone, what I'm using is essentially the microphone off a broken headset. So I'm like, well, maybe at one point I broke it to a point where the microphone no longer works. So I start more or less inspecting the headset to see if I can see any changes there, and I get to like this, it's like a little volume controller thing, and part of the volume controller is a switch that mutes the microphone, and I'm looking at that and I'm like, was my microphone muted the entire time? At that point, I'm like, face palm. My God. Shame, 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 shame. Oh, nightmare. So yeah, at that point I'm like, well, what do I do now? And I thought of the possibility of post commentary. And it's like, well, I almost feel like I feel almost forced into looking at what I'm doing while playing on a sort of basis of like a critic. I'm like, well, I don't really want to do that. So I'm like, yeah, I won't do post commentary. And it's like, well, what about some sort of special, some sort of, I don't know. All the ideas I came up with, I pretty much immediately dismissed. And at the end, I was just like, okay, this footage is no use to me whatsoever, and I deleted it. The sad, sad life. But yeah, here I am again recording. This time before recording, I actually double checked and made sure that my microphone is unmuted. And I also made sure that the game sounds are running before I started recording. Oh man, I hope I don't have to do this every time. That'll be annoying. But well, I'm not quite sure why it was muted. I'm trying to remember what led me to muting it after the episode has ended, but I can't think of anything. But oh well. Nonetheless, let's move on to what we got here. So these chests, this one, and this one, were all from spawners. And this one, and this one were from zombie spawners. And then this one was from a spider spawner that I found during the attempted recording. So I'm sorry that you won't be able to see me tackling that spider spawner. But this is what I've gotten from everything. The caving, the spawners, which is obviously the loot down here. That's pretty much all the spawner stuff. Plus a couple other things as well. I think there's some gunpowder, a couple of iron, and I think also a bit of redstone in those chests. But yeah, other things that I'd done during the episode, I'd made this pick. I went and got this obsidian. Outside of the episode, the things I'd found were the diamonds, the majority of this iron, and the majority of this gold. And I feel a little... yeah, I think they're tracked down there. So, that's what I found. And this is just holding a bunch of cobblestone. But, yeah, it was... I felt very disappointed when I got to watching my episode and realised, this isn't going to work. Oh dear. But what's done is done. There's really nothing I can do about it now. I've already deleted the footage, so it's already gone. I can't bring back or change it or anything. But yeah, I'm trying not to think too much about it. I'm hoping that that will be the last mistake I make, more or less. But yeah, since I've got a pretty good supply of stuff here. What I could start thinking about doing is building a house to put it all in, because I will need a house, or at least some sort of safe place that I can retreat to, especially during night. I obviously, speaking of night, obviously won't spend all my time in there. I'll try to be at least somewhat brave and spend some time out in the wilderness during the night, but for the most part, especially while I've got this UHC thing enabled, I feel like my nights would be better spent either sleeping in a bed, since I am in a single player world, or just sort of hanging out more or less in a house. And yeah, I'll probably go the whole bed thing, just because there are a bunch of sheep out there, and actually I can make shears, so I think I'll do that. So there we go, shears. So yeah, I think from this point forward, unless I want to go caving, which I shouldn't need to do for some time, I'm just going to probably sleep through the night. Unless I'm, like, really busy with something, and that something that I'm busy with is, say, moderately safe, then I probably won't bother. But yeah, I've come to think of this whole series as just being cursed, really. Just so many problems with it. I mean, the test runs I did, they were fine. There was nothing wrong with the test runs. Well, one or two of them. Like, in one of them there was a lot of noise from me moving the microphone around too much, because I was trying to get it in a position where I could talk, but not be, like, breathing into it, which was my problem for the very, very, very first time that I recorded. It was, like, just all this breathing into it, and I'm like, oh my god, that sounds horrible. So, yeah, I did have a couple of problems, but not to the degree that I'm having now that I'm doing, like, official episodes, for a lack of a better way of putting it. It's like, just, the game hates me. Probably not, but I like to think that. It gives me an excuse. And as you can see by the whole death counter, I've already gone over the amount of deaths that I had claimed to have had at the end of my dragon fight when I did this without recording. And all I can say is I've just had really rotten luck. I've never had this many problems when it comes to staying alive, and I don't know what it is. It's like the moment I hit record, my skill level drops to nearly non-existent. Oh dear. Actually, you know what I could do? I could potentially make a clock. And I think I will, just to keep track of what the time is. I know it uses gold, which I am going to need quite a bit of. Well, it's sun up now, pretty much, so I think I can go out. Let's see. Oop. But anyway, past problems behind. Excuse me. Let's start talking about, well, dear. This is going to be... Oh. Hang on. Oh. Oh, ow. Okay, you died. Thank you. Ah, that's where you came from. Hi. I don't want you in my life. Please go away. So anyway, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by a certain skeleton, let's go on to talk about the topics that I wanted to talk about in my attempted recording. So, one of the topics that I wanted to talk about, and I did talk about in my attempted recording, that's what I'm going to refer it to from now on, my attempted recording, was my pets. I have 2 pets. I have one dog. He is an Australian Terrier cross Sydney Silky Terrier. He is 10 years old. And I guarantee you, he is the cutest, most lovable dog that you will ever meet. Period. Anyway, ever. He's 10 years old, but he acts like a puppy. Like he's always running around, chases lizards, chases birds, chases possums. He has such a unique personality, and he's just, he's got a one-of-a-kind flair to him. His name is Jeff. Fun story behind that name. It was, well, actually it would be more than 10 years ago now that I got him. And at the time, I was into watching World Wrestling Entertainment, which at the time was actually called World Wrestling Federation. And my favorite wrestler was Jeff Hardy. So when I picked Jeff up and it came time for me to name him, the only name that came to mind was Jeff. So I'm like, okay, I am calling you Jeff after my favorite wrestler. But yeah, he's a cute one. He rarely barks. There are only really 2 situations of which I'll ever hear him barking. First situation is when there's someone knocking on the front door, and the second situation is when there's something in the backyard, like for example a bird, or a possum, or a toad. So those are the only times I ever actually hear him bark. And he doesn't bark for very long, usually. So outside of those times, he's a very quiet dog. Which, as far as me and my family are concerned, is a blessing. Because we've heard of dogs that just carry on and on and on, and we think about that and we're just like, that would give us such a headache. Just a massive, massive headache. We do not want to deal with that. So the fact that Jeff is so quiet is just such a blessing that you have no idea. Well, actually, you probably do, especially if you actually own a dog, and it is a noisy dog. But yeah, that's Jeff. And then my other pet is a pet cat. And the paperwork that I got from the pet shop that I bought him from claims him as being a Persian cross. I have no clue in the world what he is crossed with, but he is just a massive, massive, massive cat. He is bigger than the dog. I kid you not. Bigger than the dog. He weighs more, he's longer, he's taller, and he's also rounder. So he is a massive cat. So it's kind of... So that's why I kind of wonder what he is crossed with, because it has to be a very interesting breed, because, I mean, unless I'm thinking wrong, the last I checked, Persian cats were usually a bit smaller than other cats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I think that's how many I want. So Persian cats, from what I understand, are usually smaller than other cats. So him being bigger than the dog, whilst being a Persian, is really surprising to me. Just for the simple reason that, you know, I have that in my mind, that Persians are supposed to be smaller. So there's that fact about him. He's 8 years old, by the way. And he's a very demanding cat. 5, 6, 7, 8. If he wants attention and you ignore him, he will literally come up to you and rub himself all over you. So it's more or less a case of you either pat or you get patted. And the other thing with him is, if he's hungry, he lets everyone know about it. And he doesn't have a proper meow. It sounds more like a squeak, except it's very loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, loud in the sense that you could hear it from one end of the house to the other. Literally. So there's that about him as well. And there's also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's also he's very, what's the word I'm looking for? Timid around new people that he has not seen before. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he's, whenever someone new comes to the house, he will run and hide from that person. Uh-oh. Oh no. Get away from me. Get away from me. So yeah, he will run and hide from new people to the house. Like the last time we had actual visitors over, it was my dad's well, not all of them. It was basically his mum and his mother's current boyfriend. They were the last people to visit here. And naturally, I wanted to introduce both my pets to them because my pets, to me, they are kind of like my adopted sons. So I wanted to introduce them to them. And Jeff, of course, very happy to just run up to them, lick them, jump at them, you know, be very friendly and like, ooh, new people. And then Socks is like, no, just no. Will have no part in said activities at all. No. This is getting dangerous. So their personalities are like, such a difference. It's like comparing white and black, more or less. Which I suppose makes sense considering it's a cat and a dog. But, yeah. Anyway. I call my cat Socks. And the reason for that is because of his fur. He has like a almost tabby cat appearance to the sort of back and tail of his, like the top of his head, the back, the tail, and the upper portions of his legs have an almost tabby cat effect with like the main color is like a very, it's a very dark sort of grey, the main colour, with black and brown stripes, tabby stripes. And his sort of chin, chest, underbelly, and his 4 paws are white. Pure white. So since the paws are pure white, in regard to how everything else looks, it looks like he's wearing socks on his paws. Hence, I called him Socks. which is probably the most unoriginal name for a cat that looks like that ever, but I honestly couldn't think of anything else. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, those are my two pets. I love them both very much. Especially Jeff. He is a very huge mummy's boy, Jeff is. He he doesn't fend for himself. Like, I'll notice Socks will sort of swipe at Jeffrey, and it's playful, of course. He doesn't have the claws extended or anything, and he doesn't hurt Jeff. But he'll swipe at him playfully. And Jeff's reaction is run to Mummy and cry for help. It's just so classic and so it's so hilarious to see this dog running away from a cat. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there going, shouldn't it be the other way around? My pets. But yeah, those are my pets. And what else did I want to talk about? I wanted to talk more about WWE and watching it. I don't watch it anymore, simply because the storylines, they got rather boring and predictable and disappointing, more or less. Like, I knew they were scripted. Like, from the moment I started watching it, I was like, oh yeah, this is scripted. But the fact that they were scripted at the time didn't take away from the excitement of watching. I couldn't always guess what would happen, and what did happen would be like, oh, that is so awesome, that is so cool, that is you know, general sense of bewilderment around the whole process. So that was and actually it wasn't too long after was it 4? I'm trying to remember. I think, if I remember correctly, the turn of events was Jeff Hardy, my favorite wrestler, like I said, he stopped wrestling, and shortly after I lost interest, and then shortly after that I found out that Jeff Hardy had actually stopped wrestling because he was having a problem with drugs. And I consider myself a fairly easygoing person, more or less, and you know, I don't like to judge people for actions such as taking drugs, simply because I know there are people out there who take them who are still pretty okay. Like, you know, they're not bad people. And so yeah, I didn't want to judge. And but at the same time, there's this whole, what would be a good way of putting it? I guess it would be like a sensibility type reaction, like sort of within me. Like the general consensus is, okay, if you want to do that, fine, but if it's affecting you, like in any fashion, like for example, say you're taking drugs but not paying your bills, that is something I can't agree with. And of course, if you're a professional athlete, then taking drugs is going to affect your performance in whatever sport you're doing. And that's, that's not very professional. It's actually the opposite, So my general reaction is, okay, yeah, sure, if you want to do that, you can do that. But don't let it affect your life, So the fact that he'd done that and affected his life by essentially ruining his career, because the WWE looked very disfavourably upon that, and I don't blame them. Because he'd done that, I felt like I lost a lot of respect for him. And at that point, I'm like, well, this is probably a bad thing to say, but I almost feel glad that I stopped watching at that point. Just because I did lose this respect for the person that I sort of considered to be my number one. And I know there are other stars in there that are also, they're still fairly good. But, I suppose you could call it bias. I hold some bias. Just because you choose a favourite and you want to try and stick to that favourite type thing. It doesn't... And there was also the whole problem of the predictability. So, yeah. That happened. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about before I end the episode, which will be soon. The other thing I wanted to talk about was a bit of my history. I graduated high school, year 12, 2004, which probably gives you a fairly good idea of exactly how old I am. I know I said in the last episode that I was somewhere in my 20s. I still haven't decided yet if I will reveal exactly how old. I don't know. I feel a little apprehensive about it, and I'll leave it at that. Just like I also feel a little apprehensive about telling people my real name. Carline is not my real name, it's the name of a character. from a series of books by Raymond E. Feist. Completely original, take names from books. But yeah, like I said, Carline's not my real name, and I feel like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's almost like if I were to say what my name was and gave specific details about me personally, then that's giving people permission to pry. And I don't like that. So that's why I'm a little hesitant. But yeah, I graduated high school year 12, 2004, and 2005, my first job was a traineeship in, I think it was in business, actually, now that I think about it. And it was working for this steelworking company. What exactly they did, I got bits and pieces and snippets of things like trolleys and stuff for rail company and just little snippets like that. But the majority of it I didn't really understand because I didn't have any knowledge of that industry, and I still don't. Still don't. Not that I'm adverse to that industry, but I don't think it really grabs my attention as like something I would want to learn about. But yeah, a lot of it I didn't really understand, so a lot of it I never really knew what they were talking about. That ended badly for a lot of reasons. And then my next employment experience was, I'm not quite sure if it was a mining company or just some sort of soil testing company, or I'm not quite sure exactly what they were doing, but it had something to do with soil and like testing it for different things. And the one night that I worked there, my job was to take this soil sample, more or less, and divide it between one tray and 2 bags as evenly as possible. And it was a lot of repetitive moving of my shoulder, in particular my left shoulder. And the next day when I woke up, it was just so much pain, and when I went to the doctor was like, well, what you've done is you've torn your top rotator cuff in your left shoulder. And I'm like, what? And it was like, yeah, it's akin to, he related it to some sort of sports injury. I'm like, okay, okay, that's my cue to leave. He related it to some kind of sports injury, and I'm just sitting there going, so what does that mean? And he's like, well, you're gonna have to be careful with your shoulder from now on, because now that you've torn that top rotator cuff, it's going to be weakened and more susceptible to tearing, and if you keep tearing it, it's eventually going to get to the point where the only way you can actually fix it would be through surgery. And I'm going, oh. No. My shoulder's okay now, by the way. Just in case you were wondering. But yeah, that's my life story up to, well, not my life, but my story from, well, I guess it's just 2005, because that all happened in the same year. The year after graduating high school. Ah, what a time. But yeah, I think the episodes have gone on long enough. I want to try and contain my episodes to half an hour in length total. Just because it feels like it's a better thing to do. And I just did that for absolutely no reason. But yeah. The continuation of my life story, well, not exactly my life, but things that happen after 2005 to, I don't know, I guess it depends on how much I manage to fit in half an hour, but I'm going to try and fit it all in eventually at some point, I think is the point I'm trying to get across. Obviously not all of it, but from where I've left off to now. Doing all of it, it's a bit much, especially since graduating high school, my life was, yeah, I suppose that of pretty much a typical kid, getting bullied, going to school, only having a small group of friends, you know, general upbringing. So yeah, I don't want to bore you with those details, but you know, after high school onwards is, I suppose, more of a story that's of my own. Hence why I started after the point that I graduated. And actually next episode I'd like to go into more detail behind why I got fired from the job and why it ended badly. But the first job, that is. And I realise it's going backwards a little bit, but I looked at the time and I was like, I don't think I'm going to fit that whole story in this episode on top of everything else. So yeah, I hope you liked the stories. I hope you're looking forward to more, because there will be more coming. Oh, and one more thing. I noticed I've got some views, some likes on my first episode, which I do appreciate, but no comments. But it's a little, I don't know, it's an iffy territory. I don't want to say you have to comment, but it would be helpful to me if you commented, at least answering some of the questions that I raised in my first episode, please, because I really have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I mean, I just started doing this because it sounded like a lot of fun, and it is, but yeah, I don't know what to show. So any help you can give in regards to that is greatly appreciated. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Good game reference.